Is the Dulce Base? Well, you could say it's the twisted parody of Area 51. You see, in Area 51, alien corpses are retrieved and then experimented on by humans. Over at the Dulce Base, however, it's the reverse. The aliens are the scientists, and us humans, well, we're the test subjects. Tales from the Dulce Base describe trans-species experiments being carried out on thousands of humans held in cold storage in a 7-layered facility jointly run by multiple extraterrestrial races and the US government. If you've never heard of the Dulce Base, I guarantee you're not ready for the high strangeness you're about to hear. So, it's sometime around the mid-70s, the precise date unknown. Somewhere in the desert region of New Mexico, a state trooper named Gabriel Valdez is going about his normal routine, patrolling the area, when his attention is caught by a series of disturbing sights. Up in the sky, a strange but sophisticated craft flies overhead. But it's the sight on the ground that's even more unsettling. There, lying on the ground, is the mutilated corpse of a cow. And considering the high number of mutilated cattle reports going on around the region at this time, this sight is already disturbing enough. But Valdez is about to be startled by a lot worse. Inside the cow's mutilated body, Valdez sees a dead fetus. But this dead fetus looks nothing like an underdeveloped calf. Rather, it's a bizarre hybrid of organisms that somehow looks like a human, a monkey, and a frog. Now, let me just break the fourth wall quickly and say this. At this point, it's one of three things. 1. Valdez could just be telling a straight-up lie. 2. Valdez probably really did see what he claimed to see. However, he was also high as a kite at the time in question, so what he saw can't be taken seriously. 3. Valdez really did see a dead hybrid of a human, a monkey, and a frog in the womb of a dead cow. Obviously, option 3 sounds like the least possible answer. No one just wakes up and sees such things. But you know what they say about truth. It's often stranger than fiction, and few cases embody this saying as much as the case of the Dulce Base. So, back to Valdez. As he looks around this rather weird sight, he finds other disturbing pieces of debris close to the animal. There are glow sticks, gas masks, and some radar chaff. Whatever entity carried out this atrocity was definitely not a predator. Predators don't leave this kind of stuff behind. So, in Valdez's mind, these seem to be evidence of government involvement, a fact that Linda Moulton Howe would corroborate several years later in her 1980 Emmy-winning documentary, A Strange Harvest. Anyway, somehow after Valdez's strange experience, rumors simply circulate for a while, but then there's no supporting story or anything, nothing to trace the strange sights back to, and so the rumors ultimately die down. But then fast forward to a few years later, and several whistleblowers step onto the scene, one after the other, with each new testimony confirming the last. The eyewitnesses proceed to unravel the full story behind the case of the mutilated cow with the dead human monkey frog fetus in her womb. The horrors of this revelation still haven't been lived down, even to this day. Here's what happened. In February 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower was on a golfing vacation at Palm Springs when he suddenly had to go see the dentist. You're probably wondering what a dental emergency has to do with an underground alien base, right? Well, here's what. Apparently, Eisenhower's dental visit happened at midnight. Not only that, his so-called dentist worked at the Edwards Air Force Base. Yeah, nobody bought that crap story either. So what was the truth then? Well, according to a former US Congress and Pentagon consultant, Timothy Good, Eisenhower had actually been spirited away to the remote New Mexico Air Base to participate in a secret meeting of aliens. A meeting that Eisenhower himself and other FBI officials had scheduled before the day of the so-called dental emergency. According to details of the encounter leaked by eyewitnesses of the meeting, Eisenhower met with two races of aliens at the meeting, the Nordics and the Gray Aliens. But the meeting didn't end at merely exchanging pleasantries and talking about space weather. Apparently, Eisenhower also appeared to sign a kind of treaty with one of the alien groups, specifically the Gray Aliens. Now, the terms of this pact were simple. The aliens would provide the government with advanced alien tech, and in return, the United States government would allow them to carry out experiments on both humans and animals alike. The United States immediately signed the treaty, which would later be called the Granada Treaty, leaving one to wonder why they conceded so easily. Did they really just not care for the citizens? Or did the aliens have something on them that left them no choice? Well, it was two things, really. First, the aliens particularly liked the United States because of the abundance of natural energy resources which they needed. Talking about rocks with electromagnetic properties, lightning, hurricanes, groundwater, extensive cave systems, and a beautiful atmosphere filled with ions. The second thing is the clincher, though. The aliens claim to be descendants of an ancient species of humanoid reptiles that had lived on Earth for thousands of years before humans showed up. In other words, if we were talking about rights, they had more rights to the land than we did, as they got here before us humans. So, put yourself in the government's shoes. First, you meet a delegation of aliens you could have sworn didn't exist up to that point. Then, these aliens say they want your land, citing their history with the land. Obviously, these species are more powerful than you and your kind, but for whatever reason, they are willing to be benevolent and offer you some of their tech, which, by the way, is the most advanced you have ever seen up to that point. Their only condition is that you leave them to do their business undisturbed. Keep in mind that you're in the middle of a Cold War, and the Soviet threat remains ever present. This is definitely not the time to refuse any help that can help you stay ahead. So, of course, Eisenhower agrees, and the so-called Granada Treaty is signed, which officially set the stage for the establishment of the very first underground base jointly run by humans and aliens, called the Dulce Base.